Hello Tenno, and welcome to my first Warframe video guide. This is going to be a two-part video on how to solo capture Tridolons, with this one providing you with the gear setup to start off with. The main reason that inspired me to make this video was how often I see, hear, and read on how to do these ones with mod and gear setups that makes newcomers to the hunt thinking they need them when really they don't. I'm looking at you, Within mods. While it's not a bad thing to pursue them, it is a bad thing to believe that you need them to do good in the hunt. I believe in having an accessible yet effective starting spot, then grow to do better. With that said, this guide will provide what I recommend the most minimal yet optimal setup to start off with and give directions on getting better. I need to reiterate this is for solo Tridolon capture. Not only does that mean you must take all the roles that are usually divided in a fully organized squad through your gear, but it also means you'll have to make some sacrifices to do so. There are two main concerns when doing Tridolons, keeping the lures alive and dealing high damage. If you choose to take a healing warframe like Oberon and Trinity, you keep the lures alive but you lose out on damage. Conversely, if you take a damage buff frame like Rhino and Vold, you have high damage but you lose your ability to keep the lures and yourself alive. While you can use restore pads, I'm taking into consideration that some of you may not be comfortable in using them due to how much resource it'll cost relative to how much you end up using in Tridolon. However, I do recommend that you have some on you for emergencies. So how will you heal and deal high damage all at the same time? The Focus Scroll Vasmin, 212 Amp, Shrock, Pencha, Jitney, and Chroma. As you can already tell, the sacrifice that this setup has is the loss of high damage to take out Eidolon's shields. Don't worry though, I do have an amp strategy to help with that issue. To a degree. Vasmin has one of the most useful abilities in the Focus Scrolls called Protective Dash. Allies hit with Void Dash are granted immunity from damage for 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds and heal 25, 35, 45, and 60% respectively over 5 seconds. This dash works on yourself and anything that's your ally, companions, your squad mates, and their companions, friendly objectives, and NPCs, including specters and Eidolon lures. However, you yourself that cast it will not be granted the immunity when you return to your warframe. Using this with Chroma equipped with the Rage mod will allow you to heal back all damage and provide sustainable energy. This is the minimum requirement for the hunt. Everything else is optional, including waybound passives from other schools. Now, on to Operator's equipment. Because Operators don't have a reliable innate healing mechanic, you'll constantly be taking damage and will eventually be forced back into your warframe with the transferred static debuff, reducing your warframe's max health by the percentage, stacking up to 4 times. That is not something you want when you want to take damage, as the risk of getting yourself killed increases. It is possible to avoid most of the damage via operator transference. The moment you press your transference key, immediately follow it up with 2 shots from Shrock. When you get your second shot off, immediately transfer back into your warframe. During this time, you are completely invulnerable. Doing this repeatedly will both minimize the times you are forced back into your warframe while still being able to damage Eidolon safely. The only operator arcane I recommend at minimum is the max rank Magus Replenish Arcane Enhancement. It has a 25, 50, 75, and 100% chance to restore 5, 10, 15, and 20% of your operator's HP respectively every time you Void Dash. This will help you stay out longer against Tailless and Gauntless, but against Hydraless is almost useless as most of his attacks can one-shot you with this setup. Now, onto the amp. A 212 amp is the most minimal combination I can recommend. Made from the Tier 2 Shrock Prism, it fires a wide projectile with punch through like the Icoplasmor, the Tier 1 Pencha Scaffold, a charge beam like the Opticore, and the Tier 2 Jitney Brace, which reduces the recharge delay by 1 second after you stop firing your amp. The Shrock is not only effective in taking out Vulnerabilis, but it is also effective on taking out the Eidolon shields. All it takes is proper positioning and aiming your shots in a particular way. Stand either left or right of the Eidolon's left or right leg respectively, and aim either into its body/head or the armpit. This will give you the most optimal damage output. Bonus if you stand under its foot, like this. If you can't, due to it moving too much, not standing still, or bad positioning, shooting up its butt into its torso will do temporarily until you can. The sole purpose of the Pencha is to help get rid of Vulnerabilis blooms. This little purple thing, right here. What you want to do is charge up 1 direct shot, then follow it up with a Shrock. Just those 2 shots will get rid of them completely. The only reason why it'll take more is either because it didn't take the full damage of Pencha, you miss, or 1 spawn across the river. Like this little turd. The reduced recharge delay from the Jitney is very noticeable and is so much better than having plus 40 amp energy from the tier 1 Clapka brace. I can't recommend anything lower. I tried using a 111 amp setup, wrap plaque prism, Pencha scaffold, and Clapka brace, and the time it took me to take out a tailless was longer, about a 4-minute difference, with everything else remaining constant. I also can't recommend the 223 amp, Schrock prism, Schrackson scaffold, and Lauren brace. When using just the Schrack or the Schrackson exclusively on Eidolon shields, the time it took to capture Gauntlets was about the same. That's good. The bad part is when going against Hydralisks, specifically the Blooms. Ah yes, these things again. The amp has trouble dealing with them. From the wiki, the projectile does 3000 damage, then it explodes, dealing an additional 4500 AoE damage. You would think that this would be enough to take out the Blooms. Well, it's not that the damage wasn't enough, it was that a portion of the damage was missing. For some reason, only the 4500 damage was registering. According to the wiki, it has a 15-meter range, and in its notes section, the initial shot has a 10-meter range with an explosion having 7 to 8-meter range. Knowing this, I tried taking out the Blooms from 15, 13, 10, and 8 meters. All of the shots were only doing 4500 damage. Naturally, at 15 and 13 meters, the explosion was dealing its 4500 damage, but I was surprised to just see that same number at 10 and 8 meters. I decided to shoot at it at a much closer range, and this was the result I got. The projectile does hit the Bloom, but the damage was not there. It just bounces right off with no effect. The Pencha, on the other hand, can do 18,000 damage in one shot. According to the wiki, the beam is made up of two parts, the actual beam itself and a cylindrical AoE that surrounds it, each dealing 9,000 damage. I know what you're thinking, but we can still take out the Blooms. Yes, you can, but it'll take longer to kill it. At base, amps have 100 energy, each shot takes 10 energy. So the 212 amp needs 2 shots using 20 energy, while the 223 amp needs 5 shots using 50 energy. Because you need more time with the Schrackson scaffold, you're guaranteed to get at least one Bombalist spawning. Plus, you have to use more of your time taking out the Blooms than actually focusing on the Hydralisks, resulting in more time to take out the shields than if you were using the 212 amp. You may have a chance if the Hydralisk moves away from the Bloom, forcing the Bombalist to do the same. However, Eidolon movements are mostly random, so it could stay close to the Bloom. And if it stands still in one spot, you're in trouble. With all that said, I can't recommend the 223 amp as a start. No amp arcanes are recommended. That covers everything with operators. Now let's move on to the Warframe. As you know, I recommend Chroma for this. Other frames that has some form of buff either isn't high enough or is too squishy to survive the hunt. This small setup is what I recommend as a starting point. Flow, Steel Fiber, Narrow-Minded, Vitality, Continuity, Rage, Intensify, and Blind Range. For your Aura and Excellence slot, that is up for your choice. Most of these mods are self-explanatory. Increased Vex armor buff values, longer buff duration, a way to get energy, and HP to work in conjunction with Rage. The reason for Flow and Steel Fiber is because they are like training wheels to the hunt. Energy on reserves for you to recover if you make a mistake, and having more armor for you to get a feel for how much damage you can take before avoiding it. This is the lowest accessible yet effective mod setup I can give you. All the mods I use right now and further in the video are all easily farmable at nearly any time. I won't recommend mods that are hard time locked, like Prime or time limited event mods and River mods. If you already have them, go ahead and use them. The arcane you will need is a max rank arcane nullifier and an unranked one. This will give you 100% resistance to magnetic procs. When facing against Tailless and Gauntlets, the primary source to get massive amounts of energy is from magnetic screens, after destroying a Synovia. There is a secondary reason, and that's the Hydralisk Ground Smash attack. When it uses this attack, green bubbles will rise to the air and start to grow. When they burst, massive amounts of damage will pulse from them with guaranteed magnetic procs. Avoiding them is nearly impossible, and trying to take them out is too time consuming. This arcane is obtainable from killing the Tailless. You have a better chance of getting them by killing than capturing. Now for the weapon of choice. I would recommend the Lanka as a starting point, but I'm going to go lower for accessibility reasons. I recommend using Rubico as your starting sniper rifle. It's a Mastery Rank 6 weapon, has a base critical chance of 30% and a plus 50% critical multiplier on max zoom, and a low combo requirement of 1. I can't recommend anything lower due to them either having low critical chance low critical multiplier, and or a very specific zoom bonus, i.e. it's a headshot bonus. The mod setup is Point Strike, Vital Sense, Stormbringer, Hellfire, Split Chamber, Cryo Rounds, Fast Hands, and Vigilante Armaments. For those that aren't aware, the reason why Serration isn't in here is because of how Vex Armor works. Vex Armor and Serration calculates your damage independently from each other, then adds the results with each other. The same goes with other pure damage mods like Hornet Strike, Heavy Caliber, and Pressure Point. So the higher your Vex Armor value is, the smaller the difference becomes when having Serration or not, resulting in players using other mods instead. This is just a crash course on how it works, and more detailed versions are explained from the links in the description box below. I recommend using Carrier as it has precepts to increase your weapon's maximum ammo and converts other ammo types for the weapon equipped. You will need this with Rubico, as the weapon uses a lot of ammo to take down Eidolons. Carrier should have at least a max rank enhanced vitality, regen, and ammo case mod. Before I give you the average times it took me to solo capture Tridolons with all this setup, I need to mention factors that has influence on them. Constant factors, factors that will always use throughout my hunts. Use ciphers or not, I use ciphers. Try to stop the Vulnerals from healing or not at the final phase, I did not try to stop them. Use corrosive projection, I did not use it. Choice of Arcwing, I used Itzel. Build up combo for sniper rifles before the final phase, I did not. Variable factors, factors that are mostly out of my control or a potential mistake that can increase the time to complete Tridolon solo capture. Where the Tridolon spawns, if the Eidolons are moving or not, where the Eidolon fight takes place, if the Eidolons cast regeneration screen, how long to take out the Vulnerals, how long to take out the regenerated shields, if you must get another lure and charge it, if you decide to go after the core that flies 50 plus meters away, before, during, and or after the fight, when using it, so how often to use Blink. The timer starts the moment you enter the plains at night and ends the moment Hydralisk is captured. The times I recorded are all rounded to the nearest minute. Using all the gear and the mod setup from before, it took me an average time of about 38 minutes. I know it's not an appealing number, especially when considering the average person has at best 2 night cycle opportunities to do Tridolons a day. So how can we improve on it mod-wise? With Rubico, I left it the way it is as the increase in reload speed helps with maintaining its combo multiplier, but Chroma can be improved. You may have already guessed, to get rid of flow and steel fiber, I recommend replacing them with Constitution and Transient Fortitude. You now have higher power strength and duration, but the trade-off is that you must be energy efficient with only 225 max energy, and the loss of steel fiber will be hardly noticeable. And the average time with this improvement is 35 minutes. Yeah, I know it's a 3-minute difference, doesn't look great, so why would I suggest this if the change is small? Like I said before, I want you to grow, improve. Just try to make a 35-minute run with this new setup. If you're successful, that means you now learned how to be energy efficient with Vex Armor and a low energy pool, if you haven't already. The next thing to improve then is your sniper rifle. Hi Lanka. So just a quick rundown as to why it's the weapon for Eidolons is because it has over 100% critical chance with Point Strike at max zoom. Its only damage type is electric, allowing you to make radiation Eidolon's main weakness. And because it's a pure elemental gun, you won't be affected from its other damage resistance, meaning you'll never get reduced with damage. The mod setup is Point Strike, Vital Sense, Stormbringer, Hellfire, Cryo Rounds, Vigilante Armaments, Split Chamber, and Speed Trigger. Now before I start showing the time averages, I want to run you down on how the presentation will be, just so you can see the numbers side by side. At the top of each column we'll have the warframe and the gun in parentheses separated by a slash. Below it we'll have 2 numbers that are also in parentheses separated by a slash. The numbers represent the mod configuration of the gear, something you may have noticed earlier in the video. Position of the name is directly tied to the position of the number, so this label represents Chroma mod config 1 and Rubico mod config 2. Changing the first number to 2 means changing the mod config only for Chroma. We already know the averages for Rubico, now for the averages for Lanka. Using the first Chroma setup, I got an average time of 31 minutes. Changing to mod config 2, the average time I got was 30 minutes. Some of you may have already knew that I'd get a lower time when using Lanka over Rubico, but seeing the difference is really satisfying. I thought the outcome would be like Rubico where the time would decrease after upgrading Chroma's build, but the results were pretty similar. There are so many ways to improve from here, like use a different focus score, change playstyle against Eidolons, get better AMs, and some arcanes. But I took a different approach. I've seen other players use this on YouTube and was curious of how good it really was. I brought the Paracesis, the sentient slayer you get from Ballas in the Chimera prologue. 3 important things I need to mention. I did not use Paracesis as the sole weapon to take down Eidolons. I used it only at the final phase where their entire body becomes vulnerable to damage. Referring back to the time factors, I did build a Paracesis combo counter, and these 2 variables will definitely have influence on the average time if it's bad. Should you use this, the starting setup I recommend is Cleaving Whirlwind, Fury, True Steel, Blood Rush, Berserker, Shocking Touch, Molten Impact, Gladiator Rush, and Organ Shatter. You can get Blood Rush from Lura's spy missions, Pavlov. Gladiator Rush is kinda easy to find. You just need to be at the right boundary rotation from Kanzu. But if you want, Drifting Contact is a better replacement. I can't recommend body count because it cannot be farmed normally. It only drops from Acolyte event. The weapon has been forward 5 times, giving it its max sentient damage bonus. When using it with Rubico, the average time dropped for both setups, but when used with Lanka, the average time stayed the same. I was both surprised and disappointed. With that said, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're planning on using the Paracesis and improve just that, excluding choice of combo duration mod, don't. I tried different mod substitution, and the average time hardly changed. The difference was about 1 to 2 minutes. This is where I'm going to stop. There are so many other things that can be changed and improved on, but I'm going to leave that to you. While this does mean using a lot of time to gather other gears and resources to experiment on, I encourage you to pursue to get better. I understand that some of you just want to skip all this and go straight towards high optimal setup, and I wish you the best on getting there. I also wish the best to those that will use this as a starting point. I do hope you all continue to run Eidolon hunts as you get yourselves better. If you have made it to the end of this video, thanks for watching. I'll be making similar videos of sorts where I provide guidance on different parts of the game. If you liked this video and would like to see more, consider hitting that subscribe button down below.